know why I seem to be having technical difficulties today. Sorry I'm running a little late. Just one of those days. I actually was up early this morning, but running a little behind. So, anyways, happy Sunday. Welcome to week 23. I'm Paula with Desert Cat Creations, and I appreciate all you guys joining me and your support as we make our jewelry. Today, we are going to draw our cards to see what we're going to make this week. I cannot believe it's week 23 already. That means we're getting close to the year being half over, and I don't know that I'm ready for that. But it's coming whether I'm ready or not, right? So, anyways, hope you guys have had a great weekend. Today we are going to draw our cards, see what we're going to make. And then I thought I'd just make a bracelet to go with my snake earrings that we made on Thursday. If you haven't had a chance to see that, you can catch the replay on both Facebook and on YouTube. If you haven't already, please like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube. And I'm particularly wanting people to subscribe on YouTube so that we can go live on there as well and kind of expand our audience to those who don't like to play on Facebook. I know some people don't like to play on YouTube. Some people don't like to play different. But anyways, if we can be on multiples. Right now, the videos are going on YouTube, but they're just after the fact. We're not participating live, but if you are watching the video from YouTube, feel free to comment. I will get back to you, respond to you, and be happy to answer any questions you might have. And if you're interested in the cards, just send me an email or comment on YouTube, and I will follow up with you, and we will work that out. Anyways, so it's been a warm week here in Tucson. We're actually, bordering on 100 degrees for the next week or so. So summer's here for us. If you haven't already, you can check out my video. I've been posting videos the last couple weeks. Hey, Janelda. And I've been just sharing with you guys my desert life. So when you see those pictures, I'm taking those pictures as I'm out walking within walking distance of my house. So there happens to be a old golf course that they're turning into a nature preserve. So I went out yesterday morning and ran into those deer that were in my video. That was fun. I hadn't seen deer in a while. So been seeing quite a bit of wildlife lately. And I had a lot of birds that I ran into or saw the last couple weeks. Also in one of those videos, there's a picture of my century plant. If you're not familiar with that, it's a yucca, so one of those short spiky plants. But basically, when they reach their final hurrah, which is not 100 years, even though they're called a century plant, it's like 20 to 30 years. They send up this big stalk, and I know my video had a picture of some birds on that stalk. Well, yesterday it fell over. Our last one didn't fall over until July, so I'm not sure why this one toppled so early, but now my husband has to go out and start cutting it apart because it's like 30 feet high, so they're fascinating to watch. But we'll be getting some new landscaping plants because that was our third one in that space, and they're all gone now, so it's time to plant some new ones. It's apparently at whatever age they were when they were planted, the house has been here long enough because it wasn't stuff we put in. But anyways, enough with my desert plant stories. Like I said, you can check out the blooms and all that on my videos. The flowers are still blooming away, but right now the fruit is ripening, and I'm hoping to try to catch some of the fruit open for you guys because it's pretty cool to see. It's so bright red inside when it's ripe. But a lot of times the animals and birds get to it before before I get to see it. So anyways, we'll work on that. So let's go ahead and get going with our drawing. Let's See if I can zoom, because, you know, sometimes I'm challenged by the zooming. Like today, for example. There we go. Stop that. All right. I know you guys see something a little differently than I do, but I am going to leave it zoomed in like that. I'm not going to mess with it. And we shall see what we're going to do. Let me move all this. So just a reminder, these are the earrings we made on Thursday. So I will be making something to go with them today. And these are the earrings that Miss Janelda won. I will be sending those your way this week too. So, all right, let's start with our drawing though. All right, for those of you that aren't, haven't kept up with us, Bead Stash Challenge is their decks of cards, and currently I have 5 decks available. You need to buy the base deck, which is deck 1. I don't know why I have all those cards sitting there, because I really don't need them. Deck 1 has all your basics. So there's 3 different kinds of cards in there. The first is make cards. Now my pile here is a combination of all of the decks we have, any of the make cards. Not all of the decks have make cards. So what you do is you buy the base deck, and then I have expansion decks. So the expansion decks are not a full deck. It may or may not have all 3 types of cards. But our base one does. The other decks are our color deck, which adds all the colors to use and in your designs. We also have a non-jewelry and findings, so that has a lot of things to make. You're making your own findings or making your own non-jewelry items. Okay, no problem. Anyways, so, and then we have 2 theme decks. We have our Sun and Sea deck, which has all 3 types of cards. It's kind of a beachy, summery focused deck. And then our latest deck, which is our Desert Southwest deck, which is, you know, themes and things from that I think of when I'm thinking of jewelry and items common to specifically Arizona, New Mexico, some of the, you know, southern Colorado, even Texas and California, or yeah, in Southern California. But anyways, those are the 5 decks. So let's see what we are going to make. And we're going to make earrings with fringe. Okay, so, you know, there's nothing like specific to that, to fringe earrings, except it has to have some sort of dangles. The fringe doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be beads. It could be leather. It could be anything, but basically it has to have dangles. So that card is from our latest deck, our Desert Southwest deck. And this deck is also missing the 22 cards from earlier, as well as, because I take them out, so we go through everything at least once through the year. All right. So our next type of cards is the used deck. So used cards. Used cards are the things you're going to go check your stash and use in your design. So today, this week, we are going to use a skull in our design. That is from our new deck. We're going to use metal beads in our design. And use a box clasp. So, you know, sometimes you'll draw things that make sense. Sometimes you'll draw things that don't make sense. I'm not sure I want to use a box clasp with fringe earrings, so I am going to stick that back in the deck, and we are going to draw again. We're going to use silver in our design. Now, if you are new to beading and you don't have a huge stash, and you draw something you don't have, just stick it in the back in the deck or move it aside until you have something like that. Because, you know, as you get into these things, you'll collect more beads. Beads and findings. All right, our third type of cards that we have in these decks is what we call our challenge cards. So what the challenge card is a theme or some sort of design aspect, or it could be using a certain number of items in your design. Like last week, I think I had used 3 different kinds of findings, so that was not a theme, but we'll see what challenge cards have for us. We have to design something for a child. I don't know how earrings are necessarily more for a child than an adult, but we'll think about it. See, it's a design child. I feel like I should take that card since I already put one card back today. I'll think about that one. All right. So that's, you know, sometimes the challenge cards are exactly what they're called, a challenge, and other times I feel like they're a help as opposed to a challenge, that they kind of really help me focus in on what I'm going to make and what kind of design that I'm going to do. So this will be interesting. It will really be interesting. Okay, so we are gonna this week. I can put 2 back. I don't know, Janelda, should I put the child card back? Do you think skull earrings for a child is a little much? Or fringe earrings? I guess it depends on how old I make my child. You know, my child could be 17, right? 'Cause we'll just make it an older child and not a young child. How's that? So it will be our secret. Oh, I don't know. Let's see what the next card is. See if it's Oh, actually, I like the next card. It's just something inspired by Santa Fe. Maybe we'll put our child card back. And we'll do the Santa Fe inspired French earrings with skulls. I like it. Your child is 40. That's, you know, I guess when people think of child, you know, they're thinking of toddlers and young people, but you know, I purposely, when I design these cards, make them a little bit flexible. You know, I try not to make it so that you have to like make the exact thing or use the exact thing. So like earrings just have to have some sort of dangle that you would consider a fringe, right? Or fringe, skull, any kind of thing that represents a skull. Silver, now I could use silver stuff, actual silver, or I could just use silver coated. They can be glass, they can be metal. It just has to have some silver somewhere. Metal beads, they can be used in any color, any style. So, and now we're going to design something inspired by Santa Fe, which kind of like that one. All right, so we'll go with that. All right, so remember we made our earrings. So we did have some crystals. We had our little pink flowers. We had some lapis in here. We had our snake beads and some stuff. So got some stringing wire here. And I thought I would use a few more beads from our metal mix. So to go with our Southwest deck, We have a metal mix as well as a bead mix. Last weekend we made this floral bracelet with our Desert Blooms bead mix. The second bracelet I made, which wasn't the one I made on screen or on film, has all 7 colors. They're in the bead mix. So you have this dark green, you have the burgundy, they have the yellow, you have the orange, you have the purple, and then you have a lighter green and the pink. Those are the 7 colors. And then these flower beads are also as part of that mix. So, so anyways, we have those 2 mixes to go with it. So I was thinking of using a button for my clasp. So I did pull out this button from the bead mix. I pulled out a smaller button too in case I decide that this button's a little big. But look, it has a skull on it. So, ooh, I could use some skull ear. Oh, I'll think about that. Whether I incorporate buttons into my earrings that I'm making this week. Anyways, so I pulled out a couple of our snakes because I'm matching with that. Also in the bead mix, we have these little buffaloes. So I think I'm going to do snakes and buffaloes. Anyways, so also with, if you're stringing with these kinds of beads, there are things to think about. Like, so since the hole goes through here, we looked at the snakes, I had to put a bead on each side so that it kind of sits between things. With the buffalo, the hole goes through and then comes out between his feet. So I'm going to want a bead or something that fits in there so I don't have just the wire sticking out and showing. So I'm going to pull out some seed beads to use with that. So let me just pull out, some pink seed beads that go with my pink flowers. All right. So I was thinking I'm going to build my bracelet out from the middle. That I would maybe put the buffalo here. Now, like I said, I need a bead between his legs just so that it sits nicer. You need one of the buffalo. I actually I have those. I have some buffalo buttons. I know some people don't like to shop at Hobby Lobby, but the brand of buttons they sell, at least the one here, has those buffalo nickel buttons. I'll have to, I don't think I have one readily available though. Maybe for next time. So, yeah, the only thing I was concerned about this is whether it was too big, although since buffalo goes side by side, because sometimes you don't want unless you want the button to sort of be the center of your design, you don't want a ginormous button on a somewhat skinny bracelet, right? Then I was just going to pull out some of the crystals we used, because I'll need to make this a little longer, so we'll maybe put some crystals here. I think I'll put an extra one there since I need it for the snake head. And let's do the same on the other side. It's funny to use pink. I was using pink because I had to use pastels on that, based on my cards last week, because you really don't don't see a lot of light pink blooms around here. You see the really bright pink, but anyways, that's what we're gonna use. I didn't get enough crystals out. I should just get this out until I'm done, so I have stuff readily available, right? All right, so we need a crystal behind him. Maybe some more lapis. And I was just thinking the rest could be crystals, or because that's only about 4. I know, I guess I could throw in these last couple lapis too. All right, we're gonna string this up and see how it looks. Now, when I use a button as a clasp, I usually do like to, so that may be too long. Start with the button. Oh, I need I did not get my crimp beads out. Let me pull those out real quick. Do have my crimp beads. So we can string all this up and then do the button. Let's go ahead and do that. See what it looks like. And I may use those seed beads to go around my button. I'm just gonna put these beads on here real quick. I can always switch those out if I don't like them, but you know, I want to make sure I get the middle of the bracelet the way I want it. You could, you know, cut your wire in advance. I don't like to do that, you know, in case I make something too short or too long. It saves on wire. So what kind of things are you working on these days? Janelda, I know you just got back from somewhere. I assume it was a show, but hopefully it went okay. I am just stringing this up real quick, and then we'll take a look at what it looks like before we put the button on. If anybody has any questions about the products I'm using, like I said, the metal beads and the button is part of my metal bead mix that I can sell you. The crystals are from Stars Beads and Bedoria. And then the lapis, well, I mean, you can get matte lapis. This is from my stash, so. All right, let's see what that looks like on. Oh, it's hard to see on, but hope I can. You can see that okay? It's not bad. It's definitely too short, though. I'm gonna have to add. Where are we at? So, you know, with the button, we'll add at least half an inch to an inch. So let's add a couple more of these. I think I'll just use the clear crystals, and then we'll have to add ones to the other end, obviously, when we cut the cord or cut the wire. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's such a fun bracelet. I made several of them in different colors. I'm thinking. Alright, I know it's awkward for you guys, but I'm going to. Alright, I think that's, so for me, I'm right at, you know, about a 6.5 to 7 when you, is what I like my bracelet length to be. So I am going to leave it there because we're going to add to the next. And so we are going to put the button on. All right, so this button has 2 holes, so it is going to go sideways, which is fine. So I'm going to put my crimp bead on, and then I think these buttons will work really well with leather. But I mean, it'll be fine with this too, but with the 2 holes, it'll be white. White is not an easy color to find, but yeah, red. I have a red, white, and blue chainmail bracelet that I made. I'll have to pull it out for the next patriotic holiday. All right, I am just gonna go ahead and put my crimp bead on here. I am going to double check that my holes in my crystals are big enough for 2 strands of wire to go through, which it does not look like. They are. So I don't need a long tail here. I only need a short tail because I'm going to have to cut it off. So, you know, you want this to be loose enough that your button can move around a little bit, but not so loose that it's going to move around too much, right? I know, it's, I am going to use the magic crimper, so we do ravioli time here. So you center it in the divot, and then you squeeze them together. You get this something that looks a little bit like a ravioli, and then you turn it 90 degrees, stick it back in the divot, turn, and then I like to just kind of twirl my pliers around and squeeze softly until I get this little thing that looks like a bead. And since my crystals here will not fit 2 wires through them because I'm using medium wire, I am going to cut off this extra leg there, and let's see what. Yeah, I didn't realize when I bought them they had 2 holes, but I mean, it's fine. All right, so I need a little bit of room to work with, so I'm just going to cut this off with okay, Janelle. And I was going to put to make it even with what I have on the other side, I'm going to add another couple of crystals. Oh, you know what? All right. I blew that, guys, because I cut it too short because I have to be able to go around my button. All right, well, stupid mistake of the day, because I don't have enough room there. I don't think. It's possible if I take some beads off that I can make it work, but let's see. No, no. All right, we'll take a couple beads off. And I am going to put my crimp bead on here. And then I want to put some seed beads on to go around the button, and we'll hopefully have enough wire here. If not, we will be restringing everything because we cut our wire too short. I'm used to thinking about the loops for using a lobster clasp, and I forgot that I was using a button. So here we go. So I need enough seed beads to go around the button, and like I said, I don't think we're gonna have enough here. Enough wire, that is. You missed that I probably cut this wire too short, and I'm gonna have to redo because I forgot I was using a button. Yep. And I just sent seed beads flying. All right, we are going to restring this. But you know, it's always the opportunity to do better, right? So let's all right, I'm just going to use 2 at each end. Yeah, Janelle, you missed me messing up. Cut my wire too short. Like I said, I was thinking, you know, I'm usually using a lobster clasp, so I only need a small loop. I forgot I was using a button. So now I have to restring it all. But you know, these things happen. It's frustrating when you're new because, you know, well, first of all, you're frustrated because you have to redo something, but it's also frustrating because you don't like to waste materials. Wouldn't be, well, we learn from our mistakes, right? So, you know, at least this isn't like something really long that I'm having to restring, but at least I don't have to redesign it because I've already got the design going, so it's just restringing. So. And it gives me a chance to adjust the number of crystals I have at this end, so maybe it was meant to be that I had to restring this, right? All right, one. Okay, let's try that again. I think I got everything going the right direction. Let's double check first. Yep. So I chose to make my, you know, my buffalo standing up from the center, and then my snakes are headed towards the front there. So, all right. So we have our crimp bead. We're gonna put our button back on this end. You should be really smart. Well, you know, I figure if you don't make mistakes, you don't learn new things, right? Even though, you know, like this wasn't a new thing other than I just wasn't paying attention, right? But you know, there are cultures that like do the ravioli. The Native American like weavers will purposely put a mistake in things because they don't believe that anything should be perfect. And it's also, if you do the same thing on purpose, which I guess it's really not a mistake if you do it on purpose, it becomes sort of a signature to your work as well. So, okay, let's try this again. All right, we've got everything on there. Hi, Jane. Thanks for joining us. All right, so now I need a much longer piece because I have to go make a loop to go around my button. So we're going to cut back here this time. And now I have too much, but that's okay. And yeah, for those of you that are new, you know, yes, I had to restring and I made a mistake, but the good thing is I can set this aside and it's perfect length used for like earrings or some small project. So don't, you know, you're not losing it. Or maybe even a bracelet for a child, because we know that card's still in there. It's in our stack. And I think I'm gonna need some more seed beads too. All right, so let's try this again. So we're gonna put our crimp bead on. And now we are going to string these. I'm making a beaded loop to go around my button here. So using the same seed beads that I used for next to the buffalo. I imagine I will be using seed beads this week in my project because I am making fringe earrings. So. I'm gonna need more. So, you know, with the button, you always have to be able to adjust a little bit because you don't want it too big because then your button will come undone. And if it's too small, you can't get your button through it, so, or you end up cracking beads. So let's see if that fits around. Might be able to go just a little shorter. Let's see. Hold that. Hey, Marianica. All right, I don't think I want to go. That's true. You know, I could have made a small, could have made my small loop and then added leather. So, all right, I think this is big enough, so ready to put the end back through my crimp bead. Really need to use up these crimps I have. I think they were seconds, so sometimes they're not as consistent in sizing. All right, I'm going to use gravity to bring this down, and then I'm having to use my pliers to pull this because why that's, there we go. Got stuck. Must be a burr inside my crimp. All right, let's make sure we've got it tight down there. So we're moving around, and that'll fit through there. Yay. Okay. Alrighty, now it's ravioli time again, and you know, you gotta be careful here not to, I have glass beads on both sides of my crimp. Don't want to squish something, so make sure it's out of the way. And yank on that. All right, then we're going to put that through. All right, so a nice little southwest, yep, southwesty bracelet. We've got our skull bead, we've got our rattlesnakes, we've got our buffalo, and we got some blooms because, you know, you got to make it girly, right? All right, let's try that on. And see what it looks like. we go. So I just want to, show you again, if you're using these beads, I recommend putting a small bead, probably about a 3 or 4 millimeter bead on both sides of the snake so that it sits nicely. And then the buffalo, I put a small seed bead between his legs so that, the beads line up nicely and you don't end up with a little gap in there. So that's something to remember. And then make sure you cut enough wire before you make your loop for your button. So, all right. So now I have a bracelet to go with my fun earrings. Woo! All right. Thanks for joining me and, seeing me have to recuperate from my mistakes, but fortunately it didn't take too long. Just have to sort my crystals so I don't have them mixed up. All right, let's flip her over. All right, Thursday, I will be back to make my fringe earrings. Now, I'll have to decide what these are going to be ahead of time, because if I do seed beaded ones, I probably will have to make only one during the live video. Hey, Patricia. No problem. We just made a little southwesty bracelet to go with our earrings that we made on Thursday. So this is our bracelet we made today. And on Thursday at noon Pacific, we are going to make earrings with fringe of some sorts. They will have skulls. They will have silver. They will have metal beads. And they will be inspired by Santa Fe. So, when you draw a card like inspired by Santa Fe, I don't know if you guys, if you're not into Western, Southwestern decor, you may never have seen the, my mother used to have this poster that said, it was all about Santa Fe style, and it showed this person just being exhausted because they were busy doing all their decorations, and so they had, like the steers decorated with beads. They had, things were in pinks and turquoises. I associate the pink Southwest stuff with Santa Fe because of the stuff my mother used to get. And actually, I have a few pieces of pottery that are kind of in pastel colors from visits to Santa Fe as well. So like I said, when you think about Santa Fe, but you also can think about Santa Fe is supposedly they have the Margarita Trail there, so we could think about margaritas. It's New Mexico, so it's lots of green chilies. They have the blue corn, like blue cornmeal tortillas and stuff there. So lots of things to think about in Santa Fe, depending on what you want to think about. But anyways, there we go. Let me see what these comments. Yeah, Patricia, I've been following your stuff on Facebook, so I know you've been really busy. But I appreciate you taking the time out. So we're just making some Southwest stuff and using our metal mix that we have, and we've still got a lot of metal in there, so you will see more of that. Anyways, all right, as always, thanks again for joining me. Please like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. A subscription would be great. And if you have any questions, just feel free to message me or email me. I'm happy to answer any questions. If there's anything you're looking for, I am working on a couple of kits that hopefully you guys will get excited about, and hopefully I can get those together fairly soon. Like I said, I started playing with it today. So hopefully that'll be a little different. There may be a couple of different versions of things. They're not going to be jewelry kits, and they're not going to be animals this time. But you know, tune in, and we will. Hopefully, I'll have time this week to play with some. You know, making some samples so we can get you guys going on those new kits. So. All right, I hope you have a great week. I will be back Thursday, noon. 5 Eyes Watching. I know. Exciting. Thank you so much, people. I've been thinking, you know, I'm trying to find a way. People don't have to watch me live to participate, but I'd love to have more people participating in our contest, you know, in our Bead Stash Challenge group. Which if you haven't already joined, if you're on live, please click that button and join. We'd love to have you. But if you post in our group, I have a giveaway. So I was trying to think if there's maybe like an extra contest or something I could run. You know, maybe if you got a couple new followers, you get a prize. But I'd be interested in any ideas you guys have on how to get more people to play. I know it's intimidating at first, but once you've done those first couple posts, it's not as scary. And I realize people are busy and they don't always have the time to do things, but you know, as you see with most of these things, other than me gathering my materials behind the scene, most of these projects are really quick projects and don't take that long. So that should be the same for you guys. You know, there's a few things in there that take longer. You know, if you're making a beaded chain or something, that takes a while, or it can take a while. So anyways, I'd love to hear your ideas. We just want more people to play, more people to inspire us, and you know, and see what kind of crazy things the cards make you make. Because I have to say, you know, sometimes when it's a little crazy, you come up with some really, really cool thing that you might make more of. And for those of you that sell stuff at shows, you know, it'll allow you to have something a little different than what everybody else has, because you've now had this new creative prompt to get you thinking differently. So, all right, enough of that. But like I said, any ideas for how we get more people to post and play with us? I mean, it's not just our group, because on a lot of the groups I belong to, I think a lot of posts have dropped off, and I don't know why that is, but yeah, draw and make it. Yeah, I mean I could too, but a lot of times I draw and then I don't look at it until the night before to pull things out of my stash. But like I said, you know, most of these projects are pretty quick. That's the fun. You can make things, you can finish things, and that finishing things that gives you that accomplishment that, you know, encourages us to continue. So. All right. Well, like I said, get to posting. You have till the end of June to get in on this month's contest. And then if you're interested in our new deck, either of our bead mixes, let me know. I still have Sun and Sea decks and the bead mix that goes with that available. I also have, you know, now it's summer again. And I have the turtle kits, if anybody wants one of those. They make great sun catchers, but you can also use them like for a pendant or something. So it's not like our turkeys or peacocks that pretty much just gotta sit there on the table, as well as the rabbits. But anyways, I don't think I'm out of any of the kits at the moment. So I might be out of some colors, but I'm not out of the kits. So all right, thanks again, and hope you guys have a great week and have time to do something creative. See you soon. Bye.